Can we talk a little bit about the difference between entrepreneurs and other people who are not thinking in that way?
Well, my entire life I have been either an entrepreneur, or if it's being done within a larger company, sometimes it's called being an intrapreneur. But I've always been on the new product, new development, the growth side of companies' businesses. I spent most of my career with big companies. Walt Disney Company, Sony, was on the entertainment side of building theme park rides and attractions for Disney for many years. And then I spent 11 years at Navteq, a publicly traded map company that was the leader in digital mapping for car navigation, GPS navigation, phone navigation, etc. And so I spent most of my career with big companies. Now I'm, of course, with a startup and a small company. But my approach and I think my mindset has always been to look for new opportunities, to try to identify new businesses. And it really is a iterative, agile process where it starts with identifying a need or an opportunity, and then figuring out what are the possible solutions for that opportunity or needs. And then it's proposing, testing, proposing again, adjusting. So it's a lot of iteration. A lot of times you are failing more than you're succeeding. And so I think a big part of being an entrepreneur or anybody who's trying to develop something new is you have to have a very healthy attitude about failure and how do you react to it. And one of the big lessons that I learned is the smaller you can break the pieces down so that you can get fast to succeed or fast to fail with different phases of the program, the better informed you are, the sooner you can make an adjustment or pivot in a different direction or decide to stop doing it. And both are important things to know. One of my favorite phrases is an answer that is not good is actually progress, because then you stop doing that, you can shift to something else. So I think a lot of being an entrepreneur is really having a mindset around a willingness to put yourself out there, test things, be open-minded, not be biased in terms of what you think the outcome will be, because then that will lead you down paths that are not as successful. Rivet is a smart audio creation and distribution company. Now, there's a lot in those words, but basically we focus on telling stories. We tell news stories, we create and produce and distribute podcasts, but we combine it with a unique technology and IP that allows us to distribute these stories in very unique places. It could be, of course, through traditional means like podcasts and podcasting apps, but also on Amazon and Alexa, Google Home, where you can invoke and find the stories based on just requesting what you're looking for. We also produce content that's distributed for many business solutions, such as conference calling, contact centers. We actually have a service where our news and information replaces the music while you're waiting on hold. So we call all of this smart audio because it has to do with the way our stories are created. They're created to sound great, but they also are indexed and tagged with data so that they're easily searched and discovered. We have sort of some basic principles for Rivet. One is we put a high premium on producing great content, well produced, accurate, entertaining, engaging content. So there's a good show element that's really important with everything we do. And I think a lot of that comes from my Disney training, where of course, we put our guests first. In the Disney phrase, the guests really run the show. But it was really about producing great, engaging entertainment at Disney. On the technology side, what I learned at Navteq is the importance of accurate, consistent data. And so with Rivet, we're putting those two things together. And there's a lot of innovation on both the content side as well as on the technology side. And what we're trying to do is trying to be at the top of that combination. And where we see it really coming together is, again, what we call smart audio, which is where voice is, in a sense, it's a new operating system. By speaking to Alexa, speaking to Google Home, speaking to your toaster, you're going to begin to get audio information back, and you're almost engaging in a dialogue with these smart devices. And this is where we see a whole new world of opportunity for media with this new technology all around the smart audio. Smart speakers are one of the first steps into this AI world in a consumer way. I mean, so what is AI? I mean, AI is really using natural language understanding, your voice, to basically interact with devices, and then hearing back or seeing back what is expected. The interesting thing about voice is it's actually really complicated to navigate with voice. If you look at a screen, you can have all kinds of conflicting images, and your eye can find what you're looking for. And so you can have a lot of, let's call it, data in front of you, and then you can pick what you want to find. With voice, you can only hear one thing at a time. So it's a much different way of finding what you're looking for. And so the artificial intelligence that gets added to the sort of natural language understanding is trying to infer the context and sort of who you are and why you're asking the question to help with the with the answer. And the other thing that's really fascinating about the ear is really far more sensitive than your eye in terms of being able to pick up emotion and thoughts. So you can say a word, I could spell out a word and it would mean something, but only in the context of a sentence. But then I can speak that word, and all I need to do is say that word, and it will have different meanings. I'll give you an example. So you can say the word Trump. 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 All of those evoke different emotions, and versus being able to read it. Well, I think the quality of podcasting has really come up. I think we've learned a lot about what makes up a good podcast, what makes up a good audio story. Because I think when you use video or images, in a lot of ways, you can be less. The script is important, but the script is there to complement the image. When you're just listening to a podcast or a story, which is, and we're talking, you're taking an image of me, but we're talking. What I say is paramount to the experience, and so I think I just think the quality of podcasting and the diversity of what is available has really been elevated. I also think that it's a great medium for mobile on the go. So I think where are people listening to their podcasts, where they got their earbuds while they're riding their bike, or they're they're doing exercising, and so I think that use has also made it more popular. That being said, it's still a niche. It's still a very small percentage of people who are listening to podcasts. And I think, again, if you go back to smart audio and what's happening with these smart speakers, when you look at the research, people who own smart speakers it actually increases something like 20 to 25% how much they're listening. And so I think that as the speakers become more ubiquitous, as the ability to listen becomes, more prevalent just wherever you are, I think we're going to see an even greater increase in all types of audio. And I think that the podcasting is going to continue to evolve, even getting more into everyday business. I think that business podcasting, not podcasts about business, but businesses using podcasting as part of their communication, I think that's going to be one of the biggest growth areas for audio.
So telling their own story.
Yes. I mean, today we are producing a podcast for Deloitte, their risk management group. It's a fabulous podcast. It's called Resilient, and one of the managing directors interviews senior executives, CEOs who have gone through very trying experiences, whether it's bankruptcies or crises, or and how they were resilient to address those things. And this is something that they use as part of their sort of thought leadership out in industry. Another example, I think, for businesses is there's a lot of internal blogs and communications that are today sent out over the internet. Some of those companies are beginning to use audio versions of that, so that now you can get that information while you're on the go, or while you're waiting for a call, or in other kinds of what we call dwell time opportunities, because it I think it creates a much more engaging way to consume that content. Some people are visual, some people are better listening to things and consume it better from that mode.
That space of music or audio on hold, that for this project wasn't it a bit of a pivot from where you started? Was that one of those moments where you learned something?
So we started as a B2C company. We started with apps on iPhone and Android, and started getting Rivet radio integrated into cars. And Rivet's still available as an app today. But what we realized is that to start a new brand in this space was really much more difficult than we had originally anticipated. And we actually got lucky in that a business, a large conference call company, heard our news and said, we have a problem that we need help solving. We have about a 4.5 minute time period that is the average time people wait on hold waiting for a conference call to start. And we know with music we have a 20% drop off, and if it's silence it's even higher. And they had tested spoken word and news in particular, and felt that it would basically not only keep people on the call longer, but make them more engaged cognitively. And as it turns out, it does increase the time people spend waiting on hold. It does improve their engagement with the call. And so all of a sudden, we had a business saying, "What you're doing is valuable for us, and we'd be willing to pay a license fee." So now all of a sudden, on the one hand, I'm out chasing consumers, trying to get eardrums and sell ads, but I've got businesses saying we're willing to pay a license fee. And so we did do a shift away from the B2C business to today, where we're 100% B2B. So all of our business is about either producing original content for companies on smart speakers, producing podcasts for Deloitte, producing news for AP, and providing this content for different types of business services, contact centers, call centers, things like that. We haven't used A/B testing, although I know it's very, very common and popular for a lot of consumer experiences. So with our shift to B2B, we've kind of moved away from A/B testing as a sort of a concept. So I don't have a lot to add on that. In the case of a Deloitte with their podcasts, for them, yes, they want people to download and listen, but a lot of it is more focused on who is downloading and listening. So it's not large numbers of people per se, but it's really whether their constituents are and the people they're targeting, clients, customers, internal people, will listen to it. In the business world, if you're able to get a valuable person to listen to one of your podcasts, that's worth a lot, versus getting 1,000 consumers where you're getting, $10 per thousand per ad. You know what I'm saying? So if you're able to get a half hour engaged listening of one of your constituents, that right there is worth a lot to a business. Another example is we are providing flash briefings on Alexa for some news and media organizations. And their goal is, yes, they want people to listen to it, but they also want that to drive subscription to their paid services. So it becomes more of a marketing tool for them. And so the metric they're looking for is yes, listening, but then yes, listening, can it drive paid subscriptions and make it worthwhile for them to do more of the audio. So there are different use cases, and when you're in a B2B world, you're really there to solve the problems the business is trying to solve. It could be they're looking to do something less expensively. It could be they're looking to do something at a higher quality. It could be that they're looking to drive subscriptions. And the way we look at Rivet and smart audio is it's basically what's the audio solution for the problem you're trying to solve. If you are a podcaster, the majority of listening is happening today through iTunes, and there is limited data that you get from Apple. I think again, this as we move to a smart audio world, I think people are going to have a lot more direct access to the data around their content. But historically, iTunes has pretty much dominated the podcasting distribution to date. But I think that world is changing quickly with with everything Google and Amazon, Google and Microsoft and Apple and others are going to be doing. So
does that also then present a longer term challenge for Facebook and other social media sites if they're kind of holding data close to their vest for their purposes, but not maybe putting out as much for the user?
I think there are two sides of that, of course. On the one hand, that data creates advantage for those companies, so I fully understand why they behaved the way they did. When you were at a big company, and I've been at big companies, Disney and Navteq and places like that, that data is very valuable and helps create that advantage, helps create the value in your company so that you can continue to invest more. So it's that cycle that becomes very, very critical. And I think that companies tend to provide more as competition comes in that basically solves addresses that need or that want from consumers. I think that some companies are better than others at adapting, and I think Facebook is phenomenal at adapting to markets and situations. At least they have, but they're not that old, and you look at 20 years ago, I think everybody thought Microsoft was the behemoth that would never go away, and then Apple came along. And so these things just happen in cycles, and I think that there's always going to be a reluctance for a company to share if they don't have to share.
What's your thought in terms of entrepreneurship and entities like 1871 versus sort of going it alone?
It's a very, very good question. I think that the I think there are different times in a company when it probably is more important to have that kind of connection. And I think the larger you get, the more self-contained you become, and the more closed, in a sense, you want to be. Because I think even though early on there are, what you think are big ideas, really the valuable things that you create get created over time. They're not really the single idea. In that, I would encourage people to try to learn from others before doing it themselves, because I think that if sometimes a young entrepreneur will be phenomenally successful, for a lot of very unique reasons. I mean, Bill Gates with Microsoft, he was one of the first people, working on a supercomputer when he was 15, because his mom was at the University of Washington, so he had access to computers that nobody else had. So he had this really unique advantage when he started Microsoft at age 20, 21. So, and of course, the rest is history. Not many people have that kind of advantage and opportunity to do something like that. And he also had an idea of where he wanted to go with it. If you don't know what you want to do, or you don't have that kind of an opportunity and advantage, to then just go out and say, I want to be an entrepreneur, I think you'd be better off going out and just learning from others and working in companies and building your skills. And that's my bias, because that's kind of what I did.